Welcome to another episode of Life Stories. Today, we bring you an inspiring tale of bravery, hope, and transformation. Meet Ethan Collins, a 12-year-old boy from a struggling family, who, despite facing hardships and challenges, finds the courage to take action when it matters most. His selfless act not only saves lives but changes his family's future in ways they could never have imagined. Stay tuned for a powerful story of love, resilience, and the impact one person's courage can have on the world. Please subscribe to our channel to begin today's story. The air in Westfield felt thick with the weight of struggle. A quiet tension settled in every crack of the sidewalk. In every dim street corner. The city's skyline, though impressive to outsiders, often masked the pain and hardship lived by many who called it home. Here, dreams of a better life were often crushed by reality. Yet, amid this struggle, there was a young boy who refused to let go of hope. Ethan Collins, just 12 years old, lived in a modest and weathered home with his parents, George and Laura. The house, though small and worn, was filled with the echoes of love and the quiet hum of determination. Ethan's world was a far cry from the wealth and comfort seen by the elite few who passed through the city. His father, Robert, had once been the rock of the family, an industrious man who worked tirelessly in a factory. His strong hands had lifted heavy loads with ease, and his steady heart had always been a source of strength for his family. But one fateful day, Robert's life took a sudden and cruel turn. A stroke stole his strength, leaving him helpless, unable to perform even the simplest of tasks. The man who had once carried the weight of the world for his family now struggled to lift a spoon to his mouth. His words were slow and fragmented, his spirit crushed beneath the weight of his condition. The roles had reversed, and it was now up to Laura to bear the burden. Laura, though strong and loving, found herself working long hours at a local diner, serving food to people who barely noticed her tired eyes. She worked tirelessly, coming home late at night with aching feet. But she always wore a weary smile, pretending exhaustion wasn't taking its toll on her. Ethan saw through the facade. He saw how his mother rubbed her temples in the quiet of the night when she thought no one was looking. He saw how she stretched their meals, making them last one more day. He saw the unpaid bills slowly accumulating on the kitchen table, curling at the edges from neglect. And most of all, he heard the anxious whispers his parents exchanged at night. Worries they believed he couldn't hear. It was in those moments that Ethan truly understood the weight of their reality. His parents, though doing their best, were running out of strength. They were sinking under the pressure of it all, and there was nothing Ethan could do to stop it. But Ethan was a boy with a heart full of determination, and he refused to sit back and watch his family suffer. He couldn't allow this to be their future. At just 12 years old, Ethan knew he had to act. He knew he couldn't undo the past or change the reality of his father's illness. But he could fight to ease the burden on his mother, to give her a little relief. Determined to find a way to help, Ethan began looking for work. He walked from one corner store to the next, asking for any job that would give him the chance to make a little money. He was met with the same response every time: "You're too young. Try again when you're older." But Ethan didn't give up. He couldn't afford to. Every step he took, every no he received, only fueled his determination. It was late one afternoon, as the sun began to dip below the horizon, that Ethan's persistence finally led him to Liberty Trust Bank. The building stood tall and grand in the heart of Westfield, its polished glass windows gleaming even under the cloudy sky. It was a place that represented everything Ethan's family wasn't: wealth, power, security. But when he noticed a small, "Help Wanted" sign by the side entrance, his heart raced with hope. Without hesitating, Ethan walked up to the door and pushed it open. Stepping into the cool, marble-floored lobby, behind the desk sat a thin, gray-haired man who barely acknowledged Ethan as he approached. "I can clean," Ethan said with a nervous but hopeful voice. The manager, Mr. Thompson, didn't look up immediately, but when he did, he studied Ethan for a long moment. "Night shifts only," Thompson said with a sigh. "Stay out of trouble, do your job, and don't touch anything that's not yours. Got it?" Ethan nodded quickly, his heart pounding with relief. He had done it. He had found a job. And though it wasn't much, each dollar he earned would make a difference. It would mean his mother wouldn't have to work that extra shift at the diner. It would mean a little less worry in their lives, even if just for a while. As the sun set and the city settled into the quiet hum of the night, Ethan began his first shift at the bank. The once bustling place was now eerily silent, with only the faint hum of security lights breaking the stillness. Ethan worked diligently, sweeping floors, emptying trash cans, and wiping desks. Every task felt meaningful, each small effort carrying the weight of his love for his family. He knew it wasn't a glamorous job, but to him, it was a chance, one he couldn't afford to waste. Little did he know, this humble job would soon change his life in ways he couldn't even begin to imagine. Ethan's second night at Liberty Trust Bank was much like the first, quiet, empty, and filled with the soft shuffle of his mop as he worked diligently across the gleaming floors. The once bustling energy of the daytime had vanished, replaced by the stillness of a night shift worker's solitude. His mind wandered briefly to his family, imagining his mother at the diner, her tired eyes still alight with determination. He hoped his small contributions here would ease some of her burden. But tonight was different. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed through the lobby, sharp and unsettling against the otherwise peaceful silence. Ethan looked up, his heart racing as a group of 6 masked men burst through the bank's entrance. The air seemed to freeze, and Ethan's grip on his mop tightened as he instinctively shrank back into the shadows near the supply closet. His pulse quickened as he tried to make sense of the scene unfolding before him. The robbers moved swiftly, their footsteps deliberate, and their leader, a towering figure draped in black, commanded attention. He barked orders with a voice that seemed to slice through the tension in the room. Demanding, "Nobody move, hands up, now." The sound of a gunshot ringing through the air added a chilling authority to his command. And plaster rained down from the ceiling. Panic flooded the room in an instant. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as he squeezed into the supply closet, pressing his back against the cold wall. His mind raced. Thoughts of his family, his mother's tired face, and the safety of the innocent people in the lobby all colliding in a frantic swirl. He had never been in a situation like this before. He was just a boy, small and unarmed, with no real power to stop these dangerous criminals. But there was something deep within him, a flicker of bravery, that urged him to act. From his hiding place, Ethan watched as the robbers forced the terrified customers to the floor, dragging bank tellers away, and disabling a security guard with ruthless efficiency. The leader, Carson Hayes, stood near the front, his rifle held tightly in his hands as he threatened anyone who dared to defy him. "We're here for a government ransom, not your wallets." Carson's voice rang coldly, sending a shiver down Ethan's spine. But anyone thinking about being a hero? He paused, his eyes scanning the room, and then aimed the rifle threateningly at an elderly woman, Mrs. Evelyn Morris, who clutched her purse tightly to her chest. Ethan's hands clenched into fists as he watched. His heart pounded with fear. But there was a stronger force, an undeniable urge to do something. He couldn't just stand by and watch these people suffer. He wasn't strong enough to fight the robbers. But there had to be something he could do. His mind raced through every possibility. Then it hit him. Earlier that day, he had noticed 2 FBI agents speaking to the bank manager. Ethan remembered them well. They had stood out like a beacon of hope, their presence in the building giving him a sense of security. They were the key to stopping this, if only he could find them. Quietly, as the robbers focused on their terrorizing spree, Ethan slipped out of the closet and crept down a hallway toward the office area. His heart pounded in his chest as he moved, every step feeling like it was taking an eternity. The adrenaline coursing through his veins kept him focused, even as his mind screamed at him to turn back, to run, to stay safe. But he couldn't do that. He couldn't leave these people in danger. He had to act. Ethan found the 2 FBI agents bound and gagged in a small office, their eyes wide with shock. Without a moment's hesitation, he rushed forward, signaling them to stay quiet. He quickly worked to untie them, his hands trembling but steady with determination. His instincts took over as he freed the agents, urging one of them to reach for his hidden radio. Time was running out. The agents, though disoriented, immediately sprang into action. One of them, with his radio in hand, signaled for backup while the other agent prepared for a confrontation. Ethan's heart swelled with a mix of fear and hope. He had done it. But he knew the real danger was only beginning. As the FBI agents took position, Ethan had a final move to make. With a quick glance at the robbers, Ethan triggered the alarm. The sudden, shrill noise of the bank's security system sent the robbers into disarray. Panicking as they tried to regain control, Ethan's breath hitched in his chest as he grabbed a nearby stack of files and toppled them, sending papers scattering across the floor in a chaotic mess. The distraction was enough. The robbers, now frantically scrambling to maintain order, were blindsided by the FBI agents who took immediate action, tackling them one by one. In the midst of the confusion, Ethan slipped away, breathing heavily, feeling the weight of what he had just done. But his safety would not last long. Carson Hayes, enraged by the disruption, quickly spotted Ethan and grabbed him roughly, pulling him forward with the barrel of his rifle pressing hard against the boy's forehead. "Well, look here," Carson sneered maliciously, his eyes narrowing. A tiny hero causing big trouble. Ethan, terrified yet defiant, steadied his voice, forcing his words to sound stronger than he felt. "If you hurt me, the FBI will never let you walk away. But let me go, and maybe you can still cut a deal." For a brief moment, Carson hesitated, distracted just enough by Ethan's unexpected courage. It was enough of a moment for an FBI agent to seize the opportunity and fire a shot, hitting Carson in the shoulder and sending his weapon flying across the room. Chaos erupted once again as the FBI agents stormed in, securing the robbers one by one. Ethan, shaken but safe, found himself pulled into the embrace of a grateful community, his quiet bravery having saved lives that day. The day after the robbery felt like a blur for Ethan. The sirens had faded into the distance. The flashing lights that had bathed the streets in red and blue were gone. And the chaos of that terrifying night seemed to settle like a quiet storm. Yet, despite the overwhelming emotions and the weight of what had just happened, Ethan couldn't quite grasp the full extent of the changes that were unfolding in his life. He sat at the small kitchen table, his fingers absently tracing the rim of his glass. His parents, George and Laura, had barely spoken all morning. They were still in a daze from the events of the night before, too shaken to fully comprehend what had just taken place. The whole world seemed different now, and it was hard for them to process it all. Ethan couldn't blame them. He felt the same way, disoriented, yet deeply relieved. His heart was still pounding. But this time, it was a mix of exhaustion and a strange sense of triumph. The doorbell rang, interrupting his thoughts. George opened the door, and there stood a man in a suit, holding an envelope. The man's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the storm that had raged through their lives just hours before. Ethan recognized him immediately, Jack Morris, the owner of Liberty Trust Bank. "Good morning, Mr. Collins," Jack said with a warm, sincere smile. "I trust you're doing well after last night?" Ethan's parents exchanged confused glances. They had heard bits and pieces of what happened at the bank, but it all felt so surreal, like it was someone else's story. Ethan had kept quiet about the full extent of his actions, unsure of how to explain them. After all, he was just a kid. He hadn't expected to be praised or rewarded for doing what felt right. But the man in front of them was about to change everything. Jack stepped inside, his voice carrying the weight of something profound. "I'm here to offer you something I believe you and your family truly deserve," he said, his eyes softening as he turned toward Ethan. "Your courage last night saved lives. It was an act of bravery and selflessness that I won't forget." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Was this real? Was he actually being recognized for what he had done? Jack handed over the envelope, which Ethan's mother, Laura, took with trembling hands. Inside, You'll find the deed to a new home. A mortgage-free house. One that is comfortable and spacious enough for your family to breathe a little easier. You've earned it. Ethan's mind struggled to process the words. A house? Their own home, free from the crushing weight of debt that had followed them for years? It seemed like a dream. Jack continued, his voice steady. Additionally, Ethan, we would like to offer you a full scholarship to any college you choose. Your bravery and quick thinking deserve to be rewarded. And we want to ensure you have the chance to go further than you ever thought possible. Ethan's mother gasped, her hands shaking as she tried to absorb the gravity of the moment. George stood still, speechless, tears welling in his eyes. It felt as though the world had shifted on its axis in a single moment. This is too much. Ethan's mother finally whispered, unable to stop the tears that streamed down her face. We can't accept this. But Jack smiled gently. You've done so much for your family. For your community. You've proven what kind of person you are. This is our way of giving back. Of helping you start a new chapter. You deserve it. Ethan looked at the letter in his hands. At the family that was now trembling with gratitude and disbelief. He had never expected anything like this. In his mind, all he had wanted was to help. To ease his mother's burden. To make her smile just a little more. But this was beyond anything he could have imagined. Overwhelmed, he found his voice, though it was shaky. Thank you. I don't know what to say. You don't need to say anything. Jack replied with a reassuring smile. Your actions spoke louder than words ever could. As Jack Morris left, Ethan sat back down at the kitchen table. His mind spinning. His mother moved slowly, still in shock, to the window, gazing out at the street as if she were seeing it for the first time. Ethan watched her, his heart swelling with emotion. For so long, he had seen her struggle, working tirelessly, carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. But now, there was something different in her eyes. A spark of hope that hadn't been there before. His father, too, looked at him with a newfound admiration. For the first time in what felt like forever. George smiled genuinely, no longer weighed down by the financial burdens that had seemed insurmountable. Ethan's heart raced with a mix of gratitude and disbelief. Their lives were about to change. Not just because of the house or the scholarship. But because of the hope that had been rekindled within them. For the first time in a long while. They could see a future that was brighter. Free from the endless cycle of struggle. And as the day passed, with its new promises and possibilities, Ethan realized something profound. It wasn't the material rewards that mattered the most. It was the love, the courage, and the sense of purpose that had guided him to make a difference. He had acted out of love for his family. And in return, the world had opened up a little wider for him. It was a lesson he would carry with him forever. As the sun set over their new home that evening, Ethan stood in the front yard, feeling a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time, he felt like he could breathe a little easier, knowing that the struggles of yesterday had given way to the hope of tomorrow. As the days passed, life in their new home began to settle into a new rhythm. Ethan's family, once burdened by the weight of hardship, found themselves living with a sense of peace they had never known before. His mother, Laura, no longer had to work herself to the bone. Her exhausted smile replaced by one that spoke of relief and hope. George, once weighed down by the stress of their financial struggles, now had the time to enjoy his family. His health gradually improving with the absence of that constant worry. For Ethan, things were different, too. He had always been a quiet boy. One who acted out of love for his family without expecting anything in return. But now, with a scholarship in hand and a future ahead of him, he felt an overwhelming sense of purpose. The courage he had shown in that terrifying moment at Liberty Trust Bank had not only changed his life but had helped transform his entire family's future. As he stood in the yard one evening, watching the sun dip below the horizon, Ethan knew that while the struggles of life would never fully disappear, hope had found a way back into their hearts. He had learned that even the smallest acts of bravery could lead to profound change. Not just for himself but for everyone he loved. This was a new beginning. And for the first time, Ethan felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that with love, courage, and determination, anything was possible. Please subscribe to our channel for more life-changing stories.